Hello folks, welcome back to Feldy, this wonderful map created by FarmerYip for Farming Sim 11. Want to get in here and get my tractor going as we start this up. Let's see if he remembers. He does remember. Good for him. Now this combine, I obviously started to take care of the last little bit of the field here, or rather the driver did. I think he actually kind of timed out on this hill. But there's something that I was talking about the last episode that I wanted to visit about again here. I made an attempt. I told you all I was going to make an attempt to install autopilot. And this is something that'll get the combine to go round and round the field, if you will, in addition to back and forth. So if we hit, let me get rid of that. If we hit the keypad 0, it pulls up this other little HUD, and we now have some markers out front to show kind of what the working area is of our header, if you will. And I believe it should start going round and round. We are on barley. If we look at all this here, we've just adjusted our width. And let me see, we don't want to change the crop. We want it to be, well, I'm not sure what direction we want it to be. I know when I was testing this, I had it on the right side, so I'm going to hit keypad 0, so we're on the right. And let me see here. I want it to be able to unload when I'm driving. And I've noticed it looks pretty far ahead when it looks for other vehicles, so I'll maybe leave that part off. So I wanted to show that I do have something installed, and I'll hopefully get it to work here in a little bit. But for a moment, I wanted to show what I did in case anybody's interested in doing it for themselves ever. Let me just hop out here. I found, and I maybe should look for this again and find where I found this kit. It's called Autopilot Combine Kit V3 Gotch Tom. I think Gotch Tom is the name of the person who did the script and kind of wrote all this up, so the modder. So they gave us the HUD, they gave us a script, which I have open up here. They gave us instructions on how to do it, and yeah, I always go to the instructions. I can try to follow it, and you know, when I look at it here, it's obviously in German. I don't understand German. I mean, I understand fart, but I have a feeling that that is a different word in German than what it is in English. So the first order of business, you know, for me was to copy all this into an online translator to try to make sense of it in my own language. So I got all that at here. It is so handy having an online translator. So, you know, they're not perfect though. So it is set up for Farm Sim 11, and it was adapted from 09, kind of like I mentioned in yesterday. Well, that is when I recorded the previous episode. Happened to be yesterday, but yeah, the previous episode. So it tells kind of what it's gonna do, all these things, you know, which we kind of just saw a little bit. Talks about the parts of the mod, and then we finally get down here to process and installation, if you will. So just like they tell us to be on the safe side, make a copy of the combine in case something goes wrong. So that was one of the first things that I did. I think I told you I was going to do it with FarmerYip's combine. This used to be FY_combine zip. So the first thing I did was unzip it, and then I took the zip file, the original, and I just tucked it away kind of in here. Here's the original. So that way I could have it in my mods directory, but I have the original here. I can always pull it out. I just got to remember not to delete, this whole directory. I think I'll just leave it there at this point. It doesn't add a huge amount of weight to the space. So, but these are all the components, and so, we made a copy like the Ace said, we unpacked it, copied 2 files, the AP Combine Lua, that's the script, and the AP HUD. So over here in the kit, there's the AP HUD, here's the Lua file, and if we go back over here to the Combine, somewhere in here, yeah, there's the HUD. I put the Lua file in a script, and once you get in there, I mean, there's so many instructions here, it's very detailed, so it's really handy, and which I appreciate. If you don't know what you're doing, you really need to have that extra help. But it was really put together pretty well. He even gives us the helpful i3D file that needs to be imported to the Combine. So that's what he's asking us to do here. Open the i3D model of the Combine and import the i3D file that he has set up. So I went ahead and did that. Here's our Combine. Here's the autopilot stuff. As you can see, there's a number of triggers and things out there. Just a number of different items in here, start area widths, and all of these, it's wonderful that he provided this, because we could just import it and put it in here, and the script that he wrote is going to use pieces. So in order for the script to find it, very important detail here, you'll see we put it on the top component of the Combine. And so we are on, this would be the 0 component. This one down here is the 1 component. So our autopilot is at 032. I don't know if you can see see it come through over here. 032. So the 32 is critical. We needed to remember that part, but really all you had to do was just drop it in here and save it, and you're done. I mean, he's done all the work for you in terms of placing fore and aft and the little arrows here that we'll use later. So very handy the way it was set up. So after this, it asks us to open the it tells us how to put it all in there and then save it. Note the location, the index of it, which we just did, and it says open the XML file. And what he's talking about is the XML file of our thresher unit, and in FarmerYip's case, let me see, can I get back to here? That happens to be this Dutz 7545RTS, so we have that open over here. And he has another file where he gives us everything that we need to have in here. This is everything the script is going to call up for autopilot areas. And he provides, let me see, there's another, I think there's a document here where he gives us everything that needs to go in the XML. It's right here. Kind of looks a little funny. But in his case, it's all index 41. So what we need to do on our side, we copy all this in here. It's all set up to go. We throw it in here. But instead of 41, we change all of them to 32. So that we match, what we see over here. 0, component 0, section 32, or index 32. So it's real simple to just copy paste what he gives us into the XML, put those in there, change 41 to 32, and really we're done. And the Lua file, we don't need to do anything with it, but we do need to make sure that our mod calls it, from the mod description. XML. I think that's probably the next thing he's going to get to. So we've adjusted the thresher XML. We've added the AP Combine, autopilot Combine lines. He says to save it. We've done that. So now he says come into the mod desk file, and there's some other things. First thing he wants us to add is something in the L10N. And I don't know where they come up with these acronyms. Maybe if I knew more about modding, I'd know what some of these means. All I know is that this is the tag for calling out labels, if you will, for controls in the game, or things that appear kind of up in the F1 menu. That's how you know what key to press to do a certain thing on a machine, turn it on or off, engage it. it's going to be in the L10N section. So he has a boatload of items, that he wants us to put in there. And yeah, let me see him here. Actually, I got it open twice. These are all the entries that would go in there. You just copy paste the whole thing, and it's crop driven. It's all these different things, that we saw on the HUD that we would to use this thing. They're defined here. You can specify languages. Since I'm English, they already have that in there. So it made it pretty easy, and they put every crop you could think of in here that you might ever run into, whether it's green beans, yellow beans, cotton, soybeans, rice, peas, and then all the regular stuff, that you would see in game. And, interestingly, one thing I don't see in here is potatoes or sugar beets. And I know that in the last episode, I was kind of belly aching about, trying to find a self-propelled root crop harvester. And I had found some, and I know some of them have auto combine on them. And perhaps this is part of the reason why it isn't working. If it doesn't have all the pieces in there that it needs. I don't think that's all the reason, but I probably do need to make sure that it's defined that they can, harvest root crops and not just these in here, else it's going to experience difficulties. So again, the modder made it really handy for us, and again, it's a long string. We take all of this in here. This is to define labels and things we'll see in game. So we slapped all that into our mod desk. That's all this L10N. So we'll just minimize that. Now, something we had to do a little different, which the modder doesn't describe how to do. So I kind of had to figure this out on my own. And actually, I've done it a number of times on some other mods that I've worked on. See, when you have the game will define certain things. So this here is called Yip Combine, but previously it was something called, I think, Combine Cylindered or Cylinder or something like that. The game engine already knows what that means, and so there's like a definition, a vehicle type XML, if you will, combine cylinder, that has all of the various specializations for that particular machine. You could have a combine that isn't cylindered, and I think there's the one right above it doesn't have the cylindered specialization. Well, this one was combine cylindered, so I knew that if I wanted to add the autopilot specialization, I had to give it its own unique name. So I just called it Yip Combine, and anytime we give it a new name, we have to define it over here in the mod desk file. So the way you would do that is you add these tags on vehicle type. You put in the name that you have. You got to spell it precisely the way that you have it over here, all the way down to the capital letters. And of course, it's going to be a vehicle. It's going to pull from vehicle Lua like every other vehicle in the game, whether it's a trailer, tractor, whatever. But then once you give it a name, you have to say, here's all the specializations that apply to this. And a specialization is something that the vehicle does. Maybe it's something that you can steer. A trailer, of course, isn't going to be steerable, so it isn't going to have the steerable specialization. This is self-propelled, so it's going to have a motor in it, so it's motorized, it's steerable. Cylinder means there are hydraulic cylinders. I think that's what it is, parts that move. So we have that in here, and it's a combine. A combine it does its own thing. It tells the game how a combine works, and so this specialization is put on this particular machine. If it was a tractor, we wouldn't put the combine specialization on it. And so forth. You can see all of them here. What I tried to do was copy out of here all the ones that that it originally expects to see all of these here to get it to do it. We could have a combine cylinder and we could still name a Yip combine. We would just have to define all these things in here. But the reason I did it, I spelled all those out, is I wanted to add this one right here. And by spelling it all out, giving it everything it needed before it, and then adding this one after, it allows me to add a specialization to it. And you could just keep on going if you wanted. And some of the more complicated mods, you could see quite a string of specializations in here, to get it to do all sorts of things. Well, so all fine and dandy, and I think he tells us to do this in here after we add the L10N. Well, I'll just keep going. He has his instructions in there, and I followed them, but I'm kind of getting out of order. But once you indicate in here a new specialization, see, the game is already going to know what motorized is, it's going to know what steerable is, because when the game loads, it's already defining what all of these are. Those are just, they come with the game, if you will. But this particular specialization that we're using, autopilot combine, the game doesn't have. So it isn't going to know what this is. So we need it. This is where we feed it his Lua file. And this is where you can add another set of tags here in the mod.esc file called specializations. Kind of like so. You give it a name, and this has to be identical to what you call it down here when you're defining the particular vehicle. You give it a class name, which is going to represent the script class that it is. You'll notice here's kind of the class that it is, AP Combine. And again, it's spelled and capitalized exactly how it is in here. And then you have to tell it, well, where is all this script stored? So you go from the root mod directory into the script folder, and you find AP Combine.lua. And you can put it anywhere you want inside the mod. I chose to put it in its own little folder. You wouldn't have to do that. Here's our script folder, and there it sits up there. I had a couple other versions. Well, this one's different, I think. I found it on a different mod. I'm not sure what this is. It's the same size, so maybe it's identical to this top one. But really all we need in here is just this one file that is called by the specialization. So the game knows when it loads this mod, it's going to look for this specialization. It's going to feed it right in here to define what a Yip combine is. So when a Yip combine is loaded, it grabs everything that it needs out of its XML file, including this new area that we put down here to define everything that's needed for this autopilot combine script to do what it does. So hopefully that made sense, and this is some types of things that I don't think has even changed the entire history of farming sim. Well, maybe they didn't have it in 08, but I know in 09 and beyond, maybe even up to Farm Sim 22, a lot of this is set up kind of in a similar way. I think in 22 at least, maybe 19 even before it, they started saying, well, hey, we don't want you to have to repeat all this because you may not know what combine cylinder is. So they created a means where you could just add a specialization or 2 or 3, whatever you wanted, and you could tack it on to an existing combination. But I think in this era of the game, you had to spell all of that out again, and then you tack the new one that you wanted on the bottom or wherever you wanted to put it in there. So now we have everything in the model file that we need to do this. We've put everything in the vehicle XML that defines how it's supposed to do it. We've attached the script, which is going to know what to do with all the parts and get the game to do what it needs to do. We've added all the markers that should appear so we won't get any nasty error messages in game, hopefully. So now all we need to do is, there's some input bindings that we're going to need to put on here as well. And that's kind of what's defined here. And once again, the script author is very helpful. He gives us everything that we need to tack it on in there. Oh, and he's also given us the specializations to put in there. But you notice he doesn't put all the rest of this in here. that we needed that I just got done describing. But here's all the input bindings along with the keys that we press, which we kind of saw a little bit in game. And he says just copy paste. So we put all those input bindings in here and define those. And I think if in game, if you wanted something different, you probably could redefine them. So I gotta say, it was pretty easy, pretty simple, if you will, to put it in there. And it's really cool when you're modding and something works almost the first time that you try it. I think I mentioned I tried some other things kind of in this area with another vehicle, and I was getting so frustrated because it just wasn't behaving the way I was anticipating. Things that I would see with my own eyes, it told me that it was wrong, and it just didn't make sense. Some of it still doesn't. But this one here, it worked kind of as expected. And so I think, the typical motion, if you will, with modding is you'll put something on there, you'll try to take it in game, see if it works. You find out really quick, that it doesn't work. So it's like, shoot, you get out of the game and you go back, you tweak something, try to figure it out. You do that over and over and over until it finally works, to your satisfaction in game. This one here, I think maybe on the third attempt, it actually worked in game, which was pretty cool. And it means the mod author did a very good job kind of putting it together. So let's hop back in game here, and I guess I didn't keep it running. Let's pull up our HUD here again. I want it on the right hand side, so that means it should follow along the edge here. So let's just leave the HUD up for a moment. I'm gonna leave this skinny little string, and I'm gonna see if I can get him moving. Yeah, it's just miserable steep in here. Let's see if we can get him to go. We're gonna just turn it on, see if it creeps up. He's gonna tweak a little bit. And with a little bit of luck, hopefully we're not popping any errors. I don't see any. Oh wait, that's one at the bottom. But we'll see if he's able to turn the corner. Now, I pretty much know that he's going to, because I've, tested this a little bit, but this will show kind of that it works. I've also seen what I think are a few limitations with this, and it'll maybe cause me to think a little bit before I plant my fields, and maybe, we'll hold off. You'll see what I mean, I think, when we come around the corner. Yes, he's thinking real hard. There's the algorithms of the machine, or of the script, working, but he eventually figured out how to make the corner. I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this. I don't know who made it, but like I say, I think it was created for FarmSim 09, and I think I will use it sometimes in here. Like I say, I think I discovered a couple limitations of it that will make it tough to use it in some places, which we'll see kind of here when we get to the other end. But I gotta say, I'm tickled, You can't tell it. I mean, you could just say, well, I'm the one turning it, but it's, you'll just have to trust me on that. It's the machine itself doing it all, so I don't have to do it myself. What I don't know is, like, looking straight ahead, when you got something like a field island in there, would it be smart enough to go around it? I really don't know. Oh, and by the way, at any time you can get rid of the HUD if you don't want to look at it. But we'll just keep it open. So it's up to here. It's doing great. And when we get to the end of the road here, it's going to do something that I think is going to prove to be a little bit annoying. What I'd like it to do, of course, is to stop here, turn around, and head down here. And I'll be shocked if it does. Yeah, see what it's doing? it's heading straight ahead. All right, there it found, you know, this little row, so it's gonna find that. Now, why did it do that? Well, if you look at the i3D file and you look at the code, it's looking 40 meters out to see if there is more barley. So it evidently got to the end of the row and looked 40 meters out, and that's how it saw this little row here. Now, when this thing goes around again, it's going to pull the same stunt, only this time it's going to see the barley field over here, and it's going to want to go harvest it instead of doing what I want it to do, which is to continue with this over here. So now this time, as he makes the corner, he of course sees the barley over here, so I think he's going to go find it, which is what you'd want it to do. So I don't know if there's a way to shorten kind of how far ahead the guy looks, or if it's, you know, I did try at one point to shorten it, I think, to 5 meters, and he would get to a corner like this right here, and I think he backed up and just started going in circles. So I don't know if there's something magical about 40 meters. I really don't know. I'm still kind of learning about this script. I'm just happy that it actually works. And I'd like to think maybe where I could use this, or like I say, what I was saying earlier was it would change maybe how I planted my fields. Well, maybe I would put wheat over here because he's only looking for barley versus having barley in both. But we'll have to see kind of how this is. Let me go back here to my tractor and we can go offload him real quick. But for anybody watching this, I mean, I'm curious, have you ever, when you've played in these older versions, you know, I didn't see, oh, he's going to go on the run. We got to back up. I didn't see combines that went around the field until, oh, was it Farm Sim 15 maybe? Maybe I saw it on 13. Someone developed a mod called Auto Combine. I don't remember who that was. But that was the first time I saw the combine go round and round, or anything go round and round. Oh, except I need to get back to the combine because he's going to try to charge straight ahead to the other field. Yeah, there he goes. And we don't want him to do that. So I'm going to send him over here to continue on this way. There you go, bud. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't turn. But anyway, just kind of how the algorithm is set up. You know, and anytime you make a script, there's an incredible number of details, you know, that need to be looked at or accounted for to get, you know, these electrons that we see on the screen to do what we want them to do. So, like I say, my hat's off to whoever created the script, making something like this where there was nothing other than back and forth. And even the back and forth stuff is no small feat. You know, if we could look at the programming the Giants had to do for it, you know, I think we'd find that even going back and forth alone is pretty complicated. Like I say, it isn't perfect, but I think I may have a use for it. You know, one of the things I've always done in here, anytime I've started a new field, I've always tried to open up the outside ground. Maybe I could turn it loose on its own, but like I say, if it's this time here, he probably wouldn't have done a very good job opening it up. He might have made it to this far corner down here, and then he would have probably tried to go over to this other barley field. So I'll be curious to see if he does it here. Each pass we take kind of increases the distance, but attaboy. Okay, so now if 40 meters must be right at the hedge line. So he's gonna finish this. And now I think I'll turn him loose. I think I can save the... Yeah, we'll go check out our tractor over here and try to keep him going. So anyway, I was quite excited about this. It's something I'm going to still need to learn a little bit more on and work with, and I'm sure it's going to catch me off guard, as I use it in here. But I was just tickled to get it to work without too much problem. I have no idea why I've had to wrestle so hard, with some of the other things I've tried, with some of these other mods. It's baffling me at the moment, and really testing my patience to try to figure out what would be wrong with them. And yeah, see, what's screwy is, you can, I get this combine to work, FarmerYip's combine. It's like, well, how can I get it to work so easily on it, but yet all these other mods that I've downloaded that say they have it on there are struggling for some reason. So, just one of those conundrums of modding. It just isn't there's no, well, there are some books written on it, but a lot of it is still by trial and error to try to get something to work, and in my case, a whole lot of error. So anyway, thank you so much for coming by to take a look at this. Hope you got something out of it. And like I say, if anybody here has some experience with autopilot or knows anything about it, I'd love to hear anything you have to share about it down in the comments. And maybe what I'll try to do too is I want to look up where I found the kit and see if I could provide a link to it or something kind of down below, and then you all can try it on your stuff if you'd like to. Oh, he's already forgotten what direction to go. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks once again, and you have a wonderful day.